What's up, guys? You probably saw my roof rack install the other day. It's the Grizzly roof rack by Sherpa. Absolutely love that thing. Now it's time to add some lights. So we have a 42-inch bar from one of our channel sponsors, LASFIT. Thank you, LASFIT, for shipping this out to us. Discount codes and links will be down below if you guys want to check them out. We also have a 52-inch, so we're going to put both up there, obviously one at a time, just to see which one we like better and check out the output. So stay tuned to the end. We'll give you a look at the comparison there. Pretty straightforward install. This is not going to be hard at all. I'll show you the mounts we're going to be using. We'll get it up on the truck and take a look. Here's what you're going to get in the box. We have our bar right there. We're looking at the 42-inch. The 52 is going to be exactly the same, just bigger with more of an output, obviously. You get some decals, white, black, and red, your user manual, and then some mounting kits or brackets. This is the side brackets. Those are the ones we're going to be using, but they also send bottom brackets as well. They send 2 sets of the bottom brackets. All right, so that's everything you're going to get with your LASFIT bar. Now, you can order this with the wiring harness as well. I do my own wiring, and we have the Rough Country switch panel that you'll see me run this to, so that's why we don't have that, but you can get it with an optional wiring harness. Only other things that I purchased separately are, and you're going to see why, LASFIT, again, we're going to use those side brackets, but the hardware, unfortunately, because we're putting it on a roof rack down in the channels, we had to get these drop-in T-nuts. If you saw my roof rack install, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, okay? So those are what we're going to need to actually mount the brackets to the roof rack. And again, you'll see all this in this video. These are from Cali Raised. I'm going to go with this set. They're a little bit bigger and beefier, but I did go to my local hardware store and I got the biggest, beefiest that I could find at my local hardware store were M5s. Now, would this do the job? Absolutely. And, you know, so the bolts that you're looking at, the bolts right there, it's a button head. They're M5s that I got from my local hardware store. These up here are 2 different types of drop-in T-nuts that you can get off of Amazon. So that right there is this version. It's more of like a squared off or like a rectangle version, okay, that'll go into the channel of our roof rack. That kind is the kind, basically like the kind that we're going to use. Again, it's just an M5. And I wanted to go a little bit bigger and beefier since we're going with the big bar. So that's why we went with these from Cali Raised. I think these are an M6, but you can see, you know, when you look side by side, you can clearly see that the Cali Raised is a little bit beefier. That's the only reason we're going with theirs. We're up at the top of in the front of the roof rack, and because we went with the half cut, again, if you saw my roof rack install, you'll know what I'm talking about. But I basically, when I ordered my roof rack, I ordered it with my wind fairing, the front piece here. It's only half cut, which means it only comes up halfway. I did that because I knew I was going to put my light bar right here going across. Now, you can mount your light bar however or wherever you want it. On your crossbar, on the front edge of your crossbar, there's slots in these roof racks. You could do whatever you want. I've already done some pre-testing. I'm going to like mine best in here. Quick look at the 3 different drop-in T-nuts that I just showed you. And again, reason why we're going with the Cali Raised. So you'll see how these go in. You just go in at an angle and pop them down in there, and then that's what we're going to screw down into. That's the Cali Raised one. So when you put these the M5s in that are just a tiny bit smaller, they go in very easy, and they will do the job. They just don't quite get in there as securely. If I was going with a smaller bar, these M5s would absolutely do it. And honestly, they're probably good enough for this big bar, but that's why we're going with the bigger ones from Cali Raised. I'll put a picture on your screen just so you can see fitment-wise how much better the Cali Raised sits in that channel. There are going to be no issues whatsoever with this coming loose on us. Okay, I got those other 2 T-nuts out of the track, so we're just left with the Cali Raised. So we're going to take our side bracket from LASFIT. And again, you need to do this however, basically mine's going to go in this orientation. We're on the passenger side, and this is how I'm going to be putting my side bracket onto the wind fairing, the top of the wind fairing, okay? But you can flip it around. Again, you can come up here to the crossbar. However, that's personal preference, however you want to do it, however you like the fitment, okay? So just kind of pre-test and, you know, figure that out before you go any further. So all we're going to do is take our bracket with the Cali Raised hardware, again, the bigger, beefier one that's going to fit into this T-nut, and I don't want to get my hand in the way, but I'm just going to line up the hole on the bottom of the mount from LASFIT, Pop our hardware. We do have a locking washer, a flat washer. Go down through and then just screw into our T-nut in the track. And we want to leave this loose for right now until we get the light bar up here and get it centered. So we're just going to start this. It's a 4mm Allen head. So again, we're just going to get it on there, but so I could still slide it back and forth until we get the light bar centered. I'm just going to go ahead and repeat the driver's side, and we'll get the bar up here. So both brackets are now on top of the wind fairing. Again, loose enough to where they're not going to fall or go anywhere on me, but yet I could still slide them. So now we're going to take our 42-inch bar and the hardware from the kit from LASFIT. I'll put a picture on the screen so you know what hardware we're going to be working with. And we're basically just going to come in from the outside of the bracket and screw into the side of the light bar. Again, just kind of temporarily securing it. You don't have to really tighten this down just yet. I'm going to use the top hole on this bracket. Again, I've already kind of tested it out, made sure the fitment was where I wanted it and all that good stuff. So we're just going to secure that. We'll gently place the light bar down so we can go over to the passenger side and secure that side. The other thing too is pay attention to where your wiring harness is coming off. It's usually recommended for the wiring harness to come down the driver's side. It honestly doesn't matter. Just figure out how you're going to run the wiring. I'll show you how we're going to hide it and all that good stuff. But as far as driver's side or passenger side, usually driver's side's recommended, but it really doesn't make a difference. It's all up to your application. Okay, so here we are on the passenger side. Again, this is why you want these brackets loose. Just going to wiggle it till we get it up against the bar. Take our hardware, screw into the side, and temporarily secure the bar. Now we can come off the truck and see if it's centered, which you can tell mine is a little bit off, a little bit too far to the driver's side. This is why you want those mounting brackets loose. We all know my OCD is not having any of that. I'm going to get up there and measure, make sure it's perfectly centered, and then just tighten everything down to get it secured to its final location. Now my OCD is happy. Give you a quick look before we get into the wiring so you can see I have these mounted to where it's flush with the edge right here, so I could run my finger right across there. Again, that's the good thing about mounting lights like this onto a sliding rack like this. With mounts like this, it's completely adjustable. So that slot right there, you can move this mount higher or lower. It has different holes here. We have ours mounted all the way up. If you want to drop it down a little bit, completely customizable. That's how I'm happy with mine. Now, once we get it all wired up and we get it outside in the dark to see the beam pattern, if you want to rotate the light, so the beam pattern's higher or lower, all you got to do is loosen these up, get it where you want it, tighten them back down, and you're good to go. So let's get it all wired up, and yeah, we'll take a look at the light output. Let me show you how we're going to wire this thing up. So here's the connection. I cut it off. This was on the light bar. I don't really use the Deutsch connectors. Some people like to use them. That's personal preference. So I cut that off. So here we have the rest of the wire coming off of the light bar. Inside there is a black and a red. So we just have to make a slit and get down to the black and red. So we have to cut this outside covering. So once you do that, you can peel back and you can see we now have access to the black and the red coming off of the light bar. And I just pulled back, I don't know, maybe 2.5, 3 inches of the outside covering. So now we're just going to bare some of that wire in there. Now we can take our weatherproof butt connectors that we use for all of our connections here on the channel. We'll pop the red or positive from the light bar into one end, crimp it down. Positive, that's going back to our switch panel or to our battery, which I'll show you in a second. I'll show you exactly how we ran this wiring up through the truck, up to the bar. So red into the other end and crimp it down. Give it a nice little tug. They're both seated in there nice and secure. Now we'll get the heat on it. And even though these butt connectors are weatherproof, we always like to use the heat shrink tubing This is 5/16 size, 3-to-1 shrink ratio. So slide it up over the connection, and between the butt connector and this heat shrink tubing, there's no way water or weather is going to get into this connection. So heat this up and shrink it down. It has the adhesive in the middle of it, so it's nice and secure, 100% weatherproof, waterproof connection. Now we're just going to repeat the same exact steps for the black, the negative. So we now have 2 completely weatherproof and waterproof connections. And I did leave myself enough slack because, again, remember, we are going to put the 52-inch up here as well and check that out before we decide on which one we're going to go with. So I'm just going to kind of tuck this down here out of the way for right now until we do make that final decision. And then we'll, of course, clean it up the best we can. We'll zip tie it down here somehow, maybe to the crossbar or something like that, just temporary for right now. All right, so let me show you what we did with the wiring, and then we're going to take the truck outside in the dark, show you the light output on the 42-inch bar, swap it with the 52, take a look at that, and wrap the video up. So what we used to hide the wiring coming down the windshield, because that's how we ran it. There are different ways you can do this, but this is the most common and popular way, and it's the way I decided to go as well. You guys may have heard of a product called the KC wire hider. If you haven't, what it is it's a piece of rubber, or I'm not even sure what kind of material it is, but it sticks to your windshield and it's black. It blends in very well, and you run your wiring down through there from your roof down into your engine bay. Works awesome, but it's way overpriced for what it is. So I found this piece on Amazon. It's basically the same exact thing. It's a PVC floor cord cover, but as you're gonna see, I already have it on the truck. It works perfectly. It's actually been up there for a couple days because I had to pause making the video where I'm like 2 days later. So I'm gonna give you a look at it. So I'll put a link to that down below the video as well. But this is what it is. It basically, and I've already, again, it comes in, I want to say, I can't remember how long the roll is, but I've already cut, this is what's left over. I've already cut the piece that we have on the windshield, as you're going to see. But basically you run your cords, your positive and negative, down through this, sticks to the windshield, and it blends in perfectly. Honestly, if you didn't know it was there, you would probably never even notice it. I'll give you an up close look at that. I'll show you how we ran the wiring back to the battery, and then we'll take it outside and look at the light output on this 42. Just to prove my point at how well this piece blends in, I want you to look at the driver and the passenger side right now. And now you're going to notice it just because I'm pointing it out and you know it's there. But if you didn't know it was there, you would never notice this thing. So let me show you. You're looking at this black strip right here that's just tucked right up against the stock black piece right here. Again, it just blends in extremely well, and all you do, there's a channel in it. So we just took our wires coming down from the light bar. It's in wire loom that I put up there. And I'm going to clean this up even more, this connection right here, once we decide on which bar we're going to go with. But the wires come down, run inside the channel, all the way down, pop out right down in there. I don't know if you can see them right down in there, but then they just go under this black piece here, along with our ditch light wiring, into the engine bay, and then we run it back to the battery. So now you can try to run it underneath this stock piece if you want. I did try that. I just wasn't happy with it. The way this piece snaps in place, when you tuck the wiring in there, if you're using, I'm using 12 gauge wiring, just because it's a pretty big bar that we're using. This piece ended up bulging out a little bit on me, and the wiring actually ended up popping out on me. So that's why I just decided it wasn't the route to go for me. This piece, honestly, you can't go wrong. That KC wire hider, as I mentioned, in my opinion, way overpriced. This thing was less than half the price. I'll put a link down below if you want to check it out. But again, I couldn't be happier with how it turned out. So that's how we have our wiring hidden. And we actually have enough to put another strip on that side for when we're going to end up doing rock lights and everything on the roof rack. So we're going to have more wiring coming down from the roof, and we actually have enough to put a strip on the other side to kind of even it out. So let me give you a look at the rest of the wiring, and yeah, we'll get this thing outside and take a look at the output. So I'm not going to cover this in too much detail because I cover wiring in every single video we do. So you can see the wiring coming into the engine bay. again, through that black piece with our ditch light wiring, comes into the engine bay. And we do the same thing that we do for every single project. We run it through that grommet and the firewall right down there. That gets us into the inside of the truck. It's going to pop out up underneath there. You'd have to remove the kick panel and the door sill panel. They just pop off, and we just run the wiring straight back, because in the hybrid, the battery's underneath the rear seat. Underneath these panels, you tuck it underneath this panel here, feed it back into the rear. Then it would pop out underneath there. We have it ran underneath here, up underneath this piece, and then to our battery, hooked into our rough country. I took the panel off the rough country switch panel, and we just have it hooked into there. Again, just like all the other wiring we do on this channel, I don't want to just keep beating a dead horse with that in every single video. If you have any questions on the wiring, I know I just covered that really kind of quick. If you're not sure how to run wiring underneath these things, either comment down below and I'll help you out, or just go back and watch any one of my videos, either the ditch lights or the rough country panel itself, the winch video. I cover that wiring route, how to route the wiring, in a ton of videos, so I just don't want to keep repeating the same things. All right, let's get this truck outside and check out this 42-inch bar. All right, guys, here we are on our favorite stretch of road to test out our lights. It's the same spot we use in all of our videos, so I'll show you. We'll turn off the lights. It is pitch black. So right now you're just looking at the low beams with the fog lights. So I'm actually going to turn those off, and we're only going to turn on, this is the 42-inch bar from LASFIT. The roof bar, or I'm sorry, the roof rack bar that we just installed. All right, so headlights are going off, and then I'll have my son turn on the roof rack. So headlights are off, and boom, that is just the 42-inch bar. It is crazy bright. Cannot wait to get the 52 on just to see the difference. But I mean, you can see it's the mix between the flood and the spot. So it shines off to the sides. It's, I mean, the distance in the front going straight ahead with the spot beam is crazy. So there is your 42-inch bar. That is probably more than enough, but you know we're going to put the 52 on to test it out. So let's head back to the garage and get that done. All right, guys, you just had a look at the 42-inch bar. So all we've done is cut it off, connected the 52-inch. Wiring is all the same. All we did was literally cut the 42-inch bar off, connect the 52 up there, just like we did with the 42. I will say the 52 is obviously a snug fit, and it was a little bit of a pain because you don't have a whole lot of room on the sides to work and get those bolts tightened down. In hindsight, it actually would have been easiest if I just took my wind fairing off and attached the bar that way first and then kind of tighten everything down. But we got it up there. You can see it's clearly doable. The 52 will fit. Let's go check this thing out. I cannot wait to see how bright this is. I have a feeling we're going to stick with this because honestly, just looking at it, I like the look of it better, the way it fills out the whole front. But let's go take a look at the light output. All right, guys, so we are back at the same spot. I tried to get the truck in the exact position, same location as when we had the 42 on. So again, right now you're just looking at the headlights with the fogs. I'll turn them off. You can see it's pitch black. All right, so again, headlights with the fogs. Let's turn these off and do the 52-inch bar by itself. So headlights are going off. And now 52-inch LASFIT bar. Oh my God. I love it. The output is just incredible. I hope it turns out on camera for you guys. I'll see if I can maybe put side-by-sides with the 42 and 52. I'm not sure how good that'll turn out on the video because it's a 16:9 frame. But let me see if I could do that for you. If not, hopefully you can see the difference here. The 42 is absolutely bright enough. There's no reason to go more than 42. We're going to stick with the 52 just because I like how it looks on the truck. So let's go back to the garage. We'll wrap up the video and, you know, I'll just give you kind of my final thoughts here. Here's a look side by side, 42 on top, 52 on bottom. Now, there's not much of a difference at all, to be honest. The 42 actually looks like it might be slightly brighter. The only reason that is here is the way I had the bars angled. They weren't identical. And also on the top in the 42-inch video, there was a very, very slight fog that's reflecting light. The 52 is definitely brighter in person, but you can't go wrong with either bar, as you can see here. All right, guys, there's a close look at both bars side by side. Not a huge difference in light output, honestly. The 52 definitely is a little bit brighter. It was a little tough to tell in that side by side just because of, I didn't realize until after the fact. I had the 52 angled a little bit differently, but it's definitely slightly brighter. It honestly comes down to, you can't go wrong with either one. It comes down to how do you like it looking on the top of your truck or roof rack. I personally like the 52, the fact that it fills out the whole area up there. That's why we're going to stick with the 52, but that 42 is more than bright enough. I mean, they're both just, I mean, the output is just incredible. So personal preference, you guys can make up your mind there as far as what bar you want to go with. Give these LASFIT bars a look, man. They're a channel partner. They have been for a long time, but man, for the price point, you can't beat these things. I mean, the output is just as good as bars that are 2-3 times as much as far as cost goes. So give them a look. Links and codes will be down below. We do have a discount code, of course, for you guys, for the viewers here on the channel. So questions or comments on the install or anything you saw, put those down below as well. We'll get them addressed for you. Thanks for watching as always. Appreciate it, and we'll see you on the next one.